Welcome back, everybody. It's episode 30 of the What's He On About Cricket podcast. And today we've got England reviews left, right, and centre. Well, there's just one England review, really, but of each three games of England versus West Indies ODI series. And we're currently halfway through the third ODI, but we're going to review it anyway. We know England are going to win, but that's to come. We're going to look at what England did good, what England did bad, what West Indies did good, what West Indies did bad. Pretty solid stuff, right? And then we're going to look at the England T20 11 that I predict is going to play against the West Indies for the T20s. Three of them coming up as well. We'll have a look back at England Lions versus India A. What happened in that game? To be honest, it looked like a pretty unbelievable batting surface. And then we're going to round off the show, maybe asking a few of the live viewers what they think, but we're going to decide our left-handed all-time 11. I'm talking batters and I'm talking bowlers, not just left-handed kind of catchers. We don't really care about that, do we? Left-handed all-time 11, that is to come as you ask yourself, what is he on about? So the series review, game one was an absolute battering for the England boys. Well, it was a battering for the England boys on the West Indies boys. Let's dive into it. England posted 400 for 8, only for West Indies to reply with 162 all out, ending with a 238 run win. A lot of England batters got started. All of the top six, I think top seven actually making 37 or above. There were 50s for Duckett, Brooke, Root, and Bethel, but the general consensus after the game was that, from Harry Brooke himself, was that batters weren't going on. I mean, they won by 238 runs, and the new skipper on his first game has gone, batters aren't going on enough. I mean, Jacob Bethel got an 82 off 50. Everyone's talking about how we can get Jacob Bethel into the test team alongside Ollie Pope, who's just at 170, and Jamie Smith, who they love, and Ben Duckett, Ben Duckett's just a gun in general. He's not going anywhere. But that's all there. 50s for those guys. They batted really well, but Harry Brooke wants more. Harry Brooke wants more. Jaden Seals is the pick of the West Indies bowlers in that first T20, taking 4 for many. He went at almost 10 and over for his 9 overs or so. And then he top scored for the West Indies with 29 not out. The number 11. Good day out for Jaden Seals. That is for sure. But it was a great day out, actually, for two England bowlers, Saqib Mahmood and Jamie Overton. Jamie Overton is now not in the series anymore. He's had an injury. He's out for the rest of the ODIs and T20s. But Mahmood and Overton picked up 3. They bowled well. And it's interesting, Mahmood, isn't it? I think they've been very reluctant to show faith in Saqib Mahmood for some reason in recent past, but now they're really playing him. I think he had a decent go at it over in India. He got some good wickets over there, but now he's really coming into his own. And Jamie Overton, we know he can play well, but it's good to see him in the wickets as well. Then we move on to game two, and what an ODI it was. Absolute belter of a game, ending in suitable fashion for the magician that is Joe Root. Let's have a little dive in. West Indies posted 308. We're going to come on to this in a few moments' time, but Casey Carty got 100, Shai Hope got 70 odd, and there was a 50 in there as well for Brandon King. 18-year-old Jewel Andrew couldn't quite get it up and going, but West Indies love this young talent. He could be a real fighter for the future. But I think the consistent showing among the West Indies players is a few lads getting the team in a good position, in a fighting position, and then the rest of the team letting them down. That's kind of how it feels to me, which is every time West Indies play, you got maybe 2 to 4 players who are going to go out there and potentially even win you the game. And then you got some other lads around the edges who just don't really perform and it's not really their day. But unfortunately, there's just too many of those in the West Indies side that just aren't quite playing well enough at the minute. England went on to win by 3 wickets, but that's only 1% of the story. Before we get on to the England batters, Mahmood again in the wickets, three for him, but three for 37 off 10 overs. How good is that for Saqib Mahmood? Really, really controlling the ball and taking wickets. He's doing so well in the England shirt. And then we got Adil Rashid, the veteran. What a bowler, Adil Rashid. He's got the ball on a string. You kind of think that this guy's just got invincible confidence. He's in his late 30s and he can bowl the ball wherever he wants. He knows exactly how to work out each batter. It's almost like he knows what they're thinking at every moment in time. He got 4 for 63 off his 10 overs. What a spell of bowling that is by Adil Rashid. But then we move on to the batters. Before we talk about the magician, which is Joe Root. He had two brilliant supporting acts. We'll talk about Harry Brook first. He took all the pressure off Joe Root's the beginning of his innings. Harry Brook got 40 odd, but because he was going at such a good rate, hitting such great shots, it allowed Joe Root to nerdle, do what he does best in the background, tick over his score, race up to 30 to 40. All right. And then when Will Jacks came in, Will Jacks played that exact role, and Joe Root migrated into that Harry Brook role because he had his eye on and he could really, really up the pace of his innings. But I think what really impressed me, we'll talk about Will Jacks first. He got 47, I think. But the way he was able to keep rotating the strike, number seven's such a hard place to bat. He came in, kept rotating, kept hitting the odd boundary ball, never built up too much pressure. And the worst thing you can do there when you're batting with someone like Joe Root, who's 70 odd, 80 odd, not out, is take the strike away from him for too long. If Joe Root's not getting consistent strike, he's gonna build up his own pressure. I know he's got plenty of experience, but the worst thing a number seven can do is take too much of the strike. And Will Jacks played a beautiful role. Getting into the late 40s, deserved a 50, but he showed exactly why the balance of that England batting lineup is so perfect at the minute. But Joe Root, where do we start? 166 not out. What a player. There was a moment not long ago, I think it might have been after the Zimbabwe game, where Ben Duckett, Zach Crawley, and Ollie Pope all got hundreds, and Joe Root got 30 odd. And I was there thinking, does this guy still have it? Does he still have it in him? Is Joe Root the legend we thought he was? Well, I was clearly judging in the wrong moment there. I think after Ollie Pope and Zach Crawley got hundreds, I thought Joe Root not getting 100 is like a golden duck. But he showed his absolute undying class, didn't he? 166 not out. I thought he was going to do the mic drop when he won the game at the end, but he was absolutely brilliant. I think what those two batters did really well there is navigating Alzari Joseph. Alzari Joseph bowled out of his skin. Here are his figures: 10 overs, 4 for 31. He went at 3.1 in that ODI, runs per over, and took 4 good wickets, bowling absolute heat, bowling in the 90s. Alzari Joseph was all over it. But I think what the batters did well is they knew that if they put pressure on the other end, the other bowl at the other end, and they saw out Alzari Joseph, they'd win the game. And that's exactly what happened. Despite Alzari Joseph having one of the games of his life, bowling 92, 93 miles an hour, Joe Root and Will Jacks stayed patient and they got the job done in the end. What a great win that was for England, right down to the wire, 3 wicket win. And Joe Root, what a player. Game three, England are currently chasing down. Let's have a look at the scorecard. They're currently on 127 for 1 off 11 overs. Jamie Smith got 64 off 28. By the way, this is all in the chase of West Indies' 2-5-1 they posted in a reduced game of 40 overs. But Ben Duckett's on 41 not out of 30. The win viz, I've never seen this ever in my life, but the win viz for England is 99.5% England are going to win. That's what the prediction is at the minute. I've never seen a decimal. But, I mean, to be fair, their current run rate is 11 runs per over, and their required run rate is 4.18. So I think that's pretty certain that England are going to win that game. Although now I've said it, I reckon they'll probably lose by 100 runs, but they only need 119 to win off 28 overs. I think they've got it in the bag. They've got 9 wickets left. But I think the main thing that I can review from this game is something that's already happened. Um, however many overs we are in now. But the game was delayed. It took West Indies 2 hours to get from Chelsea to the Oval. Any London locals would have to tell me how outrageous that is. But a little trip across London in a bus took them a couple of hours, and the game got delayed because West Indies didn't rock up on time. How village is that? And but I'll tell you what's even more village is that the England players were also stuck in this traffic and ended up getting off their bus with their bags and took a line bike to the cricket ground. There's videos on social media circling around that the England players got off the bus, they got on, they paid for some line bikes, and they cycled into the Oval. How cool's that? I mean, it is proper village club cricket stuff there, but you can't deny how cool it must have been to watch. You're walking down the street of London, and all of a sudden, Joe Root with 14,000 test runs or whatever he's got comes past on a line bike in full England training gear and his cricket bag on his back. That is top quality there from the England boys, but they do what they need to do for the love of the game. But good to see Jamie Smith back in the runs, even though he got out for 64 off 28, going at a strike rate of 228. That's a really good sign for England in both the white ball and the red ball. Let's move on to a kind of slightly wider review. England, we've talked about this already, but I think the main takeaways they can take from this series is the balance of this side. I was worried. I was thinking a week out. I was worried that they were going to have to play four fast bowlers, and without that outright pace all-rounder of Ben Stokes, I was worried they were going to have to play Jamie Overton at seven. But can you imagine if Jamie Overton came in at seven when England still needed 100 and odd runs to win? I think they still needed 150 when Will Jacks came in on Sunday in the second ODI. If Jamie Overton came in then, the tail's too long and you lose the game. But what Will Jacks did so well is batting at number seven. It shows how well balanced this England side is. Great effort from Jacks. And another great thing, not only Joe Root being an absolute masterclass himself, Adil Rashid, the veteran. It's so good to see him still firing away. I've had a few people in my messages saying, you need to rest Rashid. Maybe his time's up. But I think you've got to play him as much as you possibly can. You've got to keep him there. You've got to keep him playing. And he is an absolute veteran of the game. How good is Adil Rashid? That top seven looked lethal. And I think no salt, no Phil Salt, not the salt you put on your chips. Phil Salt, I think him not being in this ODI side makes it slightly better balanced, if that's correct use of English. Phil Salt would go out all guns blazing. And I felt like that's probably not the right approach for ODI cricket. And seeing him go out there in T20 cricket all guns are blazing is a much better watch. But I was worried that Phil Salt would get us to 50 and then get out after 4 overs and then leave us kind of in a bit of trouble, even though he was 50 for one. But Phil Salt, I think, he belongs in the T20 lineup. Nothing against the bloke in ODIs, but I think the team's slightly better balanced without him. Let's move on to what we're not going to say bad, because we're not bad on this podcast. We're going to say things to work on. The fast bowling. I think it's similar in the Test game. It lacks pace, it lacks depth, and it lacks wicket-taking ability. That's what it lacks. And when you've got the likes of Matt Potts, Bryden Cast, whether it's Gus Atkinson in the Test stuff, Saqib Mahmood's bowled well, but we can't get through the tail. That's the main issue I've got at the minute. West Indies in the third ODI today put on 100 and I think 110 or something for the eighth wicket. Gudakesh Moti got 63 and Alzari Joseph, who, let's be honest, I've never seen him score runs, got 40 odd. And this is just where I feel this England team is lacking. We don't have Mark Wood, he's injured. We don't have Jofra Archer, he's injured. These are kind of players that we need, but then when we're without those guys, it really shows that we don't have the depth to fill those roles. That's what I'm worried about in an England shirt. We know Mahmood was class But looking forward, we need more potency, more depth, maybe more pace, different angles, bit of left arm stuff. That's what we need in the future. Let's have a look at West Indies. What did they do good? What did they do not so good? Casey Carty. This man looks an absolute talent. I think he's 24 years old. He got 103 in that second ODI. Unfortunately, it was in vain. But he then got. I just looked back to the Ireland game. West Indies played against Ireland in a few ODIs before this, and get this: Casey Carty hit 170 of 142 in that game in the second ODI for against Ireland. This guy is in the runs and he's a serious young player. He's done it against all sorts of opposition now, and I think he's a man we all need to look out for in the future. Another man, Shy Hope. How often have you seen this guy perform in England? He does it all the time. Every time he comes over, he's a brilliant captain for West Indies. I feel like they want to fight for him, even though that first ODI was a bit of a rollover. There was some fight in that second ODI. But Shy Hope, I think, always gets runs. He's got a 70 odd, and he'll get more runs, won't he? That's for sure. Alzari Joseph, how good has he been? I mean, he took 4 for 31 in that second ODI. We talked about it. He looked fierce, didn't he? 92 miles an hour he's bowling, 93 at one point. How good is Alzari Joseph? A lot of good things for West Indies to take away from this series. But what can they improve on? We have touched on this, but they can't get the job done, can they? They've got a lot of people working hard. They got 3 or 4 players who are playing well, and then it feels like the rest of the players throw it away. That's just what happens for the West Indies at the minute. They don't have finishers and they don't have enough depth in that team to put out 11 good performances. You're never always going to get that many good performances, but I just feel like West Indies need a couple more good performances from individuals every time they play. At the minute, there's too few players playing well each game. That's how I feel for me and West Indies, but a lot of good signs, and I reckon they are going to be a side for the future. That's for sure. Right, let's have a look at the T20 squad. This is more West Indies kettle of fish, isn't it? Let's be honest. But England have got a pretty strong T20 squad, but I thought I'd dissect it and give you an 11. Straight up. Here we go. Opening up, we've got Ben Duckett, because I feel like he wants to open whatever the format, Ben Duckett wants to open. And alongside him, we got Phil Salt. He's been out of it for the ODIs. He was too fiery at the top of the order in ODIs, but there's no such thing as too fiery in the T20 stuff. That's for sure. Phil Salt sits at the top of the order. But let's have a look at number 3. I've got Josh Buttler. I mean, Josh Buttler could easily be opening, but I feel like Ben Duckett is just desperate to open. Yes, he's batted a bit at 4 in the past in T20s, but I think Josh Buttler's more of a 3 than Ben Duckett is. So that's your top 3 there. At 4, I'm going to give you Harry Brook. He's done it for the ODIs. He's the captain. That's where he's going to bat. 5, 6. I've put Bethel and Jax. We are without Joe Root at number 3, so it feels like everyone's just shifted up a bit. We're going to come on to number 7 in a minute. I want to hear your thoughts. But number 8, 9, 10 and 11, I think, is pretty locked in. We've got Bryden Cars at 8, Potts at 9, Rashid at 10, Saqib Mahmood at 11. I want to see take 10 wickets easily. I want to see the England boys rattle through the West Indies lineup. But to make that happen, number 7's going to be needed. Number 7 for me is one of 2 people, Liam Dawson or Rian Ahmed. There's the 2 options. For me personally, I'd play Liam Dawson because I think he's just been doing it more recently in T20 cricket. He had a great SA20 in South Africa, and he's been doing brilliantly for Hampshire. Not on the T20 stuff yet, but over the past few years, he has been absolute quality. But Rian Ahmed, on the other side, has been on the fringes of that England 11 in all formats for the last couple of years. Rian Ahmed, I think, probably, in terms of how long he's waited in an England shirt, deserves a little bit more of a chance than Liam Dawson does. I think Liam Dawson would probably play better on the night. However, I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan Ahmed plays in the T20 against West Indies. But that's my 11. No Jamie Overton, of course, but I think we're going to go with that three-pace attack. If they want to play a fourth, there's always the left arm of Luke Wood waiting in the wings. Let's have a look now at England Lions versus India A. I'm not going to say it was a boring game because it was probably one of the flattest decks in history. One of the best places to bat I reckon I've ever seen. Not that I was there, but I heard about it. So India posted 557 all out in that first innings. Karen Nair, he's been knocking on the India door for a while. He got a triple hundred as his first hundred in Test cricket for India, but then never saw the light of the Indian Test shirt again. But now he's back, and he got a double ton in this game. 204, 90s for Sarfraz Khan and Dhruv Jurel. Two lads who are really knocking on the door of that Indian team, especially without the likes of Rohit and Virat in that 11 anymore. But pick of the England bowlers was Josh Hull with a three for. And also Zaman Akhtar from Gloucestershire bowled very well, took three there as well. But England then finished their innings with a lead of 30. They posted 587 all out. Tom Haines, the Sussex man, playing very well in a Sussex shirt. There was questions, weren't there? He played very well in Division 2, Tom Haines for Sussex. But then he got up to Division 1 and people were like, can he perform there? He's performed brilliantly this year. He's been one of the top batters in Division 1 alongside Hasib Hamid. And he's gone out for England Lions and he's knocked a 171. Who's to say this guy can't debut for England this year? Well, they love Zach Crawley, don't they? So somehow I doubt it. Right, Max Holden, the Middlesex man, he's been playing very well for Middlesex and he got 100 for the England Lions, 101. But another man I want us to look at is a man from Warwickshire. He played in the County Select 11, which was a warm-up game for Zimbabwe, where England selected a few young county players. Dan Mousley, he hit 140 odd in that game against Zimbabwe, and he just hit 113 against India A, who had a pretty decent bowling lineup with the likes of Harshit Rana and so many other Indian bowlers, which I can't remember right now. But England posted 587, and then it just got to a point on day 4 where England got bowled out. So India came back in and they knocked 241 for 2. You know, I started to think that maybe this pitch was drying up and good for the spinners, but no, India dominated. 50 again for Dhruv Jurel, but also Iswaran got 68, Jaiswal got 64, and Nitish Kumar Reddy got 52 not out. But a total of 1,385 runs scored in that 4-day match. That is an absolute shocker. And only 22 wickets fell across 4 days. You probably wouldn't have liked to have been a spectator on that day, but so be it. Now, final task to do. Here we go. I want to hear your thoughts, people in the live stream. We've got the left-handed 11. The all-time best left-handers of all time. All time said twice there. That's how all time we're dealing with. Left-handers of all time. This is after a comment from Mina Kunju from one of my TikToks on my angriest 11. Go and check that out if you haven't already. Go and follow on all social medias and make sure if you like what you're listening to, you leave a 5-star review. Whether you're on TikTok, head over to Spotify, leave a 5-star review. Whether you're on Spotify or Apple, do your best to leave a 5-star review. But that's while you're thinking of who is going to be in this left-handed 11. Right, I'm going to start you off. We've got probably 5 options to open the batting, but I've picked 3 to go in my top 3. Here we go. Number 1. Alistair Cook, 6th all-time Test run scorer. Number 2, Matthew Hayden, incredibly destructive batter. And talking about destructive batters, Jayasuriya, Sanath Jayasuriya pops in at number 3. The other 2 options were Graham Smith and Chris Gale, 2 absolute quality cricketers. But we're going to move on to number 4 and number 5. What about Jason Roy? Jason Roy, unfortunately, was a right-hander, but I love Jason Roy. Let's go to number 4, Brian Lara. Jaya Surya, Rishi in the chat loves a bit of Jaya Surya. So do I, Rishi. But Brian Lara is the new topic of conversation. You can't really look past his quadruple hundred, can you? 400 against England, I believe it was, but one of the greatest left-handers of all time goes in at number 4. Talking about great left-handers, Kumar Sangakkara. Anyone heard of that guy? I have. Kumar Sangakkara pops in at number 5, 28,000 international runs. What a player Sangakkara is. He's not going to take my gloves though. Rishi again, the Sri Lankan national, loving the Sangakkara. He's at number 5. Unfortunately, I'll tell you what, there's one more Sri Lankan to come, Rishi, so don't you worry. Sangakkara, yep, second most international runs of all time. But number 6, arguably the greatest all-rounder of all time. Many who were there in the past to see him would have said so, but a little bit of pace, a little bit of spin, and he actually got 8,000 test runs at an average of 58. Number 6 in the all-time left-hand 11 is Gary Sobers, Sir Gary Sobers. Sorry about that. But that is the top 6. At number 7, you've got your wiki. I really hope I haven't got any of these wrong. I did my research well, but number 7 is Adam Gilchrist. What a player he was. Absolutely revolutionised the world of wicketkeeper batsmen. Even whilst Kumar Sangakkara at the other end was hitting graceful cover drives, Adam Gilchrist just ramped up the heat and slots beautifully in at number 7. That's Adam Gilchrist. But then we're on to the bowlers. We've got 1 spinner and we've got 3 pacers. At number 8, I'm going to put my Pakistani fast bowler. It's Wasim Akram, one of the absolute goats of reverse swing. He slots in as the left armer up there, and decent batter as well. He could knock a few around, couldn't he? At number 9, Danny Vettori, absolute beauty with the left arm offies for New Zealand. He's got over 700 wickets for New Zealand. But we're on to number 10 and 11. Unfortunately, Murali is not in this 11. I really hope he's not a left armer. I'm pretty sure he's a right armer. Sam Redhead, unfortunately, doesn't make this 11. Sorry, lads. Pete Burnand does not make this 11, unfortunately. But the left armers, number 10 and 11, is going to be Mitchell Starc and Chaminda Vaas. Chaminda Vaas, the Sri Lankan, winning, I believe, the 1996 World Cup for Sri Lanka. And Mitchell Starc, I genuinely believe he will be one of the best left armers of all time when we look back on him in the future. Fierce, and I think he's got over 500 international wickets in, I want to say, half as many games as Daniel Vettori. But that's is it. There's your 11 for the left-handed 11. Make sure to leave the 5-star review. Make sure to like the TikTok live stream. Make sure to follow on all platforms. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope the question got answered of what is he on about. Cheers.